Hey everyone, Mason Brock Henderson here, and this is going to be another late night review, so keeping it quiet. But this is Fargo, Season 2, Episode 5. Yes, 5. And we finally got some good action on the show. Man, that's one of the things that I really remember about the first season is that when the action got going, it was kind of like shocking action. It was not just, gunshot. No, it was like a foot came off in this from a shotgun blast. It was the action is just intense. It's like they go all out with the special effects, and it sounds kind of morbid of me to say, but I love it. But yeah, it starts off with we get our first view of Bruce Campbell as Ronald Reagan, and it works. I can totally see it. Although to be fair, and to be kind of, Bruce Campbell is one of my favorite actors, but in this case, it feels like Bruce Campbell less than Ronald Reagan. You can kind of see it, but then again, I wasn't alive when Ronald Reagan was around, so I can't say how good of a job he's doing. But it opens with him giving a speech, and it shows some of the Kansas mafia guys out in the woods. The guy that was making the deal with the Gerhardt family in the last episode, and all of a sudden the Gerhardts just, they start taking everybody out. And so a lot of the Kansas mafia guys die, including the head guy. And the Kitchen brothers start shooting back with the shotguns, take most of the Gerhardt gunmen out. But then the Indian comes out of nowhere, stabs one Kitchen brother in the neck, and punches the other one out. So half the Kitchen brothers are gone now. But that's how it opens. And once again, kind of like this, up until this episode, it's been kind of building and building and building. And just like in the first season, same thing, it starts off kind of with a bang. They have that opening shootout where people die, and you're just kind of like, whoa, what's this? And it builds, and then you have your first really intense action scene, and just like in the first season, it was out of nowhere. Last episode ends with the mother saying it's war, and opens with the war. Like there's no like build up to the war. You just see them getting their guns, and you think that things are about to be on, and then all of a sudden, surprise, it's on. No build up whatsoever. It opens with the action, and it's great. I love it. But let me just go ahead and talk about the different storylines going on right now. So I'll start with the Gerhardt family. You start to see a bit more of how Dodd is. He's not happy. He's very clearly playing happy just for his mom's sake, but whenever she's not around, he's clearly not happy with taking orders from a woman. And this is set in a time when women were oppressed. Women didn't have any rights. No, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember when the women's rights stuff happened. I think it was about Ronald Reagan dying, though. Maybe. Anyway, but obviously whether or not that's going on right now, I don't know. But very clearly he doesn't want to take orders from his mom, even though, she very clearly wants to step up and say, this is how it's going to be. He's not accepting of that. And you kind of see a bit of animosity there. The Indian comes back with information, after he has, taken all of them out. He and the gunmen have taken out most of the Kansas City Mafia. He returns with information that he has found out about what happened to Rye. Finds out about Ed, tells them, and the mom is trying to get information from him, and Dodd's trying to put information into his mouth, trying to make it seem like Ed killed Rye because the mafia, he's working for the mafia. And So that's the story that he convinces, just by looking. It was very interesting to see because the Indian's like telling the story, and then Dodd pipes up. He's like, "See, they must have hired the butcher to kidnap Rye." And she's like, "I want to hear it from his mouth," talking about the Indian. And then Dodd gives the Indian like this look, and the Indian's like, "I believe they were." He tells exactly what Dodd wants him to say, and it's almost like they have this mental connection, uh, which they talk later. Dodd's the middle brother. He talks about how the Indian's been around since he was little, so it makes sense that they're kind of connected. Um, they understand each other very well. So that was cool to see. But basically, that's as far as the Gerhardt family. Like, you see that opening scene where they're very clearly set on destroying the mafia because they came in expecting to take it all, but they're not going to take that. They're going to fight back. Um, you have a bit of interesting story going on with Dodd's daughter, because she was sleeping with the black guy that Milligan, and so you have a bit of interesting story where she leaves despite Dodd like saying, "Get back here." She just drives off and meets up with Milligan, and Milligan very clearly unhappy with what just happened. But well, he talks about how he talks about his mother a bit and advice she gave him, and he says, "So whenever I hear about the massacre that just happened, I don't think the sky is falling." And he's very charismatic. He's just so cool about it. Like, a lot of his people just died, and he opens a box that he received, and it's the head of the guy that was making the deal with the Gerhardts. It's his head in the box. He you know the one kitchen brother that didn't get killed is with him, but he's just so cool about it. He's just like, "I'm not gonna act like the sky is falling. It's no big deal," that type of thing. And he pretty much, in a very like non-threatening, but it's so cool and just chill that it's very threatening for the daughter, convinces her that he wants to know everything that the Gerhardts are going to do before they do it. So she's going to become kind of an informant when she gets back home. Dodd's waiting for her, and said, he has like this little speech prepared. He's like, "So what, you think you're a grown up now? Having your hair that way, not wearing a bra?" He says, "Kid, if you're a kid, you get slapped. If you're an adult, you get the fist or the knife." And then the mother comes out of nowhere and says, "Dodd, you leave that girl alone." And she says, "Go upstairs, sweetie." And the daughter walks out and just adds more fuel to the fire because she's already taking over the business despite Dodd wanting to have it. And now she's stepping into his parenting too. And he very clearly wants to discipline her for not listening, but the mother's like not letting him do that either. So now it's not just the business, now it's his own personal life, now it's his family, his daughter, that she's stepping in and trying to take control of as well. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there, because he obviously is not happy with his mother right now, but we'll see what goes on there. And like I said, they did have a scene where the middle brother talks to the Indian about the history, but the middle brother's son, the one that has the deformed hand, he asked Dodd if he can go take care of the butcher, Ed, and Dodd, he at first he's like no, but then he kind of stands up to Dodd, which earns Dodd's respect. He calls him out and says, "Leader would make sure that a Gerhardt is there to take care of business," and Dodd respects that, and so he lets him go along with the henchman that was going to kill Ed. But before I get to that scene, that's the scene I'm going to finish with. Go back a bit and talk about just a bit about Ed and Peggy, what's going on with them right now, because they're very clearly on two different wavelengths. Because it starts off with them, Ed wants to cover his tracks. He wants to get everything situated, buy the shop, and just live out a normal life with everything put behind him. Peggy is very clearly shaken up by what Lou said about the Gerhardt family coming to take care of business, and she wants to pack up the things and get out of town as soon as possible. And it's funny because they swap at the exact same time. Peggy, I don't know exactly what it is that convinced her, but she goes to get her car back, and when she gets it back, the kid that's working at the shop talks about how much he loves the car, and she changes her mind before she drives off into the sunset and decides to sell the car, get the money to help buy the shop, and stay put. And of course, Ed has the scene I'm going to talk about in a second, where the shop, ends up not an option anymore, and he gets attacked, and he switches his mind. He's like, "Well, we have to get out of town now." And it's very interesting because it shows how much that they have really changed from the beginning. Because at the beginning they were just, they were a couple you didn't know a whole lot about, but now we really know how different they are and how different they think. Because they're going this way, and then they cross paths and go. It's crazy how well the writers wrote that into the story, because it causes turmoil, and if they were both on the same mind wavelength or whatever, this would be so much easier for them. They wouldn't stress out. If they knew they had each other, they could work it out. But it's funny to see them, they're going one way. Peggy's got her idea, Ed's got her idea, and they're gonna do that. And then at the last second, switch, and Peggy's like, Ed was right, and Ed's like, Peggy was right, and now they're in a bind again. And that's kind of the enjoyment of the show, is seeing this couple that just, they were unassuming, they had their own little personal problems, but they were normal people, and they get stuck in a very unusual situation, killing this crime family's son, and then they send more people after them, and they're trying to hide the crime. It's just, all hell breaks loose for them, and I don't know, maybe it's just a personal thing, like, maybe that's just a personal thing that I enjoy about it, is watching them, like, because that was part of the fun of the first season too, is watching Martin Freeman's character kind of, struggle to come up with lie after lie to cover up all of his crimes. And it's the same thing here. It's like they're struggling to the next step. They have a plan, and then something happens, ruins their plan. They gotta come up with a new plan on the spot. And it's just constant scrambling. But anyway, the scene that I'm talking about, the henchman and deformed hand kid, they show up at the shop. Ed just had this weird conversation that they have in Fargo, because it's Fargo and it's weird. But the girl is talking to him about, the girl that runs the shop is, her father runs the shop, but she's working there at the cash register, talking about death, reading this depressing book. The kid comes in, and you tell her kind of hitting it off a little bit, and a little bit of, they kind of have different opinions, but they kind of complement each other. I was wondering if they were going to kind of give that, like he has to eliminate all the witnesses, and so he couldn't do it because he couldn't shoot her. It was just interesting little dialogue between them. But he goes in, and it's really funny to see from the mind of this kid, because I'm not sure how old he is. I think he's about 16. But he's scared out of his mind because this is the first time going to shoot somebody. And so when Ed comes out of the kitchen holding the tray, he just, in his mind, Ed's like looking at him like this, and he's got blood covered all of his apron, he's holding this meat, and then he's like, and it goes back to Ed, he has barely any blood on him. He's just like, "Hey, how you doing?" I don't know, it was funny to see that from his point of view, kind of freak out for a second, like, oh my god, this guy is terrifying. So then after that, he goes back out to the car. He just bought some meat, and then they wait a while, and he calls his dad and tells him that, or well, he tries to get a hold of his dad and tell him that he's ready to go back to school. So I thought, is he not going to go in there? But then he does anyway. Um, I wonder if maybe he knew he had to do this, or else he failed and Uncle Dodd would not be happy. But I think he finally realized he wasn't cut out for this. But he goes in anyway to finish the job. The girl isn't up at the cash register, so he locks the door, close sign on, and goes in with to shoot him. But before he can shoot him, the girl comes out of the bathroom back there, warns Ed. The shot misses and sets the place afire. And so the place is on fire. He's trying to like change out the magazine, but he's struggling because of his hand, and he's scared, and so he can't. He was able to do it. We saw it in the woods. He was able to do it, but under pressure, it's like struggling. The guy, the henchman that came with him, kicks down the back door, and fight scene happens. It looks like Ed might get choked out, but then hits the guy in the head, and then cleaver to the forehead, and you're just like, wow, Ed. When Ed's in a situation, he turns into a badass. Okay. Just those weird moments where this guy is just normal, but when he's in a pinch, he can get out of it. So it's very interesting. The kid gets hit by a ricochet bullet, and the place is like burning down to the ground. So Ed and the girl escape with the kid. And Ed, when he gets outside, you kind of see how far he realizes it's come, because he instead of sticking around, he's like, you saw, I didn't hit the kid. It was self-defense. The kid got hit by a bullet. I saved the kid. You'll tell the cops I did that, right? And she's like, yeah, but, and he just walks away, gets in the truck, and drives away. And you're just like, wow, okay. He's very clearly done with this. So, he gets home, and like I said, he and Peggy are completely opposite. And then it ends with the cops. They hear the sirens pulling up outside. And so, very good episode. Just full of all this stuff going on. You're finishing this one scene, and you're just like, what's going to happen next? And then they cut to another scene, and you're just, it's so much going on, but not. I've said this so many times. I'm going to say it again. It's so much going on, but it never feels rushed. It always feels like it's the perfect amount, the perfect timing to it. And it just never feels like when I'm done watching, I'm like, I feel like I've watched a 2-hour thing, but it's only been an hour. And that's how well they pace it. Just so much information is given to you, but you don't feel like it. You feel like you've been watching for a while, but it's been the right amount of time. And so it's just very well done show. I guess one more thing I do want to talk about, because it's part of the humor of the show, because it's not all action and darkness, and there is a lot of funny moments. And so, like I said, they have Ronald Reagan, Bruce Campbell as Ronald Reagan in this, and Lou has been put on his detail. And also, should mention Betsy is going through her trial. Her father's trying to be there for her, but he doesn't really know what to do. But this is what Lou's going through, and if, of course, he shows up at the end with the fire to the butcher, the butcher shop, and it shows him talking to the guy that he met with when he went to visit the Gerhardts. He's talking to that cop too, because of the massacre that happened in the woods, and kind of reveals that he knows about Ed and Peggy. But one of the, just some of the funny scenes came with Bruce Campbell as Ronald Reagan. And my all-time favorite scene so far from this season, it shows Ronald Reagan giving a speech, and then Nick Offerman's character is after he's standing and crying, clapping, he's crying, and just thinking about Ron Swanson, it's just, because, I don't know. I just imagine he would like Ronald Reagan. Maybe I don't know. It's just it was funny for me to think of Ron Swanson crying at a Ronald Reagan speech. Um, of course, it's mustacheless Ron Swanson. So, but they have a funny scene later where Reagan's going shaking hands and coming closer to Nick Offerman's character. He's talking to Sonny, the kid that works in the auto shop with him, and he's like, "I'm not shaking his hand. He's been in a movie. It wouldn't be right." And then as soon as he gets, "I loved you in that movie, Ronald Reagan." Just I don't know. It's funny. Um, but Lou has this moment in the bathroom with Ronald Reagan talking about you know his time served. Uh, the cancer that Betsy's going through right now, all that stuff going on, and Reagan's just like, he's just so like awkward about it. Like I don't. It was such an awkward scene because they're saying some like it sounds profound, but it's when you really think about it, they're just kind of talking out their asses. Um, they don't really, you some of it sounded like really prophetic and stuff, but at the end, like Lou kind of asks him what he's supposed to do about all of it, and Reagan just kind of looks at him and walks out. And it's just that's how it ends, and you're just like, okay, like it sounds like you know they don't really know what's going on. Um, but anyway, that's this was a really good episode. I'm still kind of trying to process it all because it opened up strong and it ended very strong too, and there's a lot going on in the middle that will come back later for sure. Um, so yeah, it's really good show going on. Fargo, watch it if you're not. And if you're not watching it, why are you watching this review? Stupid. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.